I did attend my first branch leaders meeting, and that for me alone was overwhelming because I also was asked to introduce who I was and what I was a part of. And as soon as I said what I was a part of, I said almost like everybody was like clapping on screen, and to see all these little screens, again, I got overwhelmed and crying, and just looking at my screen, I was like, oh my God, everybody here somehow has a connection to CMT.
Hello, everyone. This is Chris and Lizzo.
We are a brother-sister team.
And on behalf of the Charcot-Marie Tooth Association, a.k.a. CMTA, we are coming at you.
Coming at you from coast to coast. I live in California, and Chris is in snowy Vermont.
That is right. Though it is springtime, the snow is melting.
Snowy.
So this is another episode of our podcast named what, Lizzo?
CMT for me. CMT, the number 4, me.
That's right, folks. CMT for me, a community-focused podcast dedicated to those with CMT, giving those a voice in the community to share their stories, good or bad, successes, challenges, and much, much more. So hold on tight.
All right. Well, Chris, I haven't spoken to you for a while. I know we haven't caught up. What's going on?
I thought we just spoke a couple hours ago.
Well, you were giving me a hard time, but I don't know what's going on in your life.
Okay. Well, I'm literal, I don't know. Yeah, okay.
Really catch up, not just telling me what to do.
Oh, well, Lila's graduating from University of Virginia. That's cool. In May.
Oh my gosh.
Can't believe it. Seems like she just started there. And then she's back for a month or so, then off to downtown Manhattan to start her job. Wow. So it's pretty cool. What's going on with Johan? I heard, did he move out or something?
Johan got an apartment, and he is so excited. But the thing is, he moved out, and he's only 15 minutes down the road. Actually, I'm going to take a shower at his place. He just moved in 2 weeks ago because our water got turned off. So he's not going to be psyched to see me. But
you guys didn't pay the water bill?
Yeah, I'll do anything to have a shower.
Things are tight, folks, over there in Los Altos. So.
Yeah. But all of a sudden, he moves out. I'm like, where's my crepe maker? And where are my spices? And I think he left with a whole bunch of our stuff. And he's like, no, I bought that. All the paper towels are gone, the paper towel holder. He said he bought that in grad school. And did Uncle Chris push you up to this? And I think you kind of helped make some plans.
Yeah, I told him when you were on vacation that he should start moving the furniture from your house into his new place. So
nice.
I'm not surprised. You check your living room there. Check your living room. There might be a missing couch or chair or something. So, Lizzo, just shifting here, we've got the Cycle for CMT event this year.
Yep. A little bit different format.
Yep. 2023, the 10th year. We're just promoting this. We're going to take a different approach this year. We're not going to have the signature event in Vermont. We're going to scale that down a little bit. And what we're doing is we're just this year really promoting individuals who want to participate to do a virtual ride or to start their own event. Mm-hmm. And then what we're going to do is see how that goes and hopefully put a committee together and that really get all the energy in, one place and launch a significant event in 2024, right? Okay. So this is an opportunity to do something a little bit different and see where we can take this and how we can really make this the biggest event going forward and see who steps up. So really looking forward to participation. More to come on that through email blast and postcards and things of that nature. So that'll be cool, Lizzo.
And I took a look at that jersey. It is gorgeous.
Yeah, the new jersey.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I just loved it.
Yep. And, I am proud to say right after 9 years, we've raised over $2 million for research for CMT.
All right. So that's not bad.
I know as we reach more people, we can continue to raise money and hopefully this event turns into something which we've always thought of from the start, having events all throughout the country.
And in Canada.
And in Canada. You got it. So it'll be sweet. Looking forward to it.
So when I talk about Canada, I want to talk about our guests that we have today on today's podcast.
Oh, Canada.
Oh, jeez. Here we go.
Glorious and free.
Do you know that?
Well, yeah.
Is that all you know?
No, I just don't. I don't want to. I want to give time to our guests and not spend all my time singing.
Maybe we'll have our guests sing that song.
I'm really fired up for this guest speaker. I'm excited, Lizzo. I'm sure you are too.
Her name is Victoria Berezovich. And I don't know if I said that right, but you have the Ukrainian accent, Chris.
It's Victoria Berezovich. Okay. So
Victoria is a model. And she was signed by an agency called Kello, I think, Inclusive, and which is awesome. And she's also on this really cool reality type show. And I'm going to let her talk more about it. She's representing CMT, and it's a group of people that have disabilities, and it's sort of like impromptu discussion and seeing how their days go. So, Victoria, welcome to our podcast.
Yes, welcome. And let me say one more thing. This is a great episode in terms of an individual turning their frustration, which Victoria can explain, into action, right? And really, really impressive. So, Victoria, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a huge honor, so I'm looking forward to it. So
that's good. It looks like we made you laugh a little bit here. So.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about Push. It's a documentary or reality series. What is it?
It's an unscripted docu-series that follows a group of us that we like to call the Wheelie Peeps.
The what?
We call ourselves the Wheelie Peeps.
Oh, the Wheelie Peeps.
The Wheelie Peeps, yeah, because most of us use a mobility device such as a scooter or a wheelchair. So we all kind of called ourselves the Wheelie Peeps, and it just follows a cast of us around through our day-to-day life and just slaying through life.
So that sounds like an incredible tool, just spreading awareness.
It is incredible. It's about halfway through airing the first season of it, and it's been getting really, really amazing positive response from both able-bodied and other communities. It's incredible what it's done so far.
Well, good for you. That's awesome.
So tell us a little bit, do they put you in a house and you all have to get along, or do they put you in different situations? Tell us a little bit about the program.
No, they just follow us through our day-to-day lives. They show some of our struggles with my partner, Brian, and I, for example, our issues parking our accessible van and how some people abuse those stalls, and then it puts us in a predicament. Or it shows how accessible certain places within our city are, or just how we want to make a change in the community. Some of us are mothers, some of us are married, some of us aren't. It's just we all kind of represent something that I think can resonate with everybody.
That's cool. And how would someone watch this?
It is available on our national broadcasting network, CBC, or you can get it on the streaming web service that they have, CBC Gem.
CBC Gem, folks. That's
so
cool.
I went on there. They said something about VPN network or something, but there is, if you can't get it for some reason, there are a lot of clips on YouTube of you guys. So I went to YouTube. I couldn't find you on TikTok, but I went to YouTube and watched a whole bunch of stuff. So it was awesome. I just loved it.
We have been hearing a lot from people in the States that wish that they could have better access to it. So I'm hopeful that maybe somewhere down the road, if there's another season, maybe it will get there. I think just the more feedback we get on it, the more push there'll be. I love using that word so much.
It's good.
And maybe we can help you do that with our community.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, Victoria, tell us a little bit about what type of CMT you have, how that was diagnosed, and whether or not, I think you had some pretty unique experiences, because to me, it's leading into like, why did you start, or why did you get engaged with something like this? And also, I believe your just activity in Canada, starting a branch and all of those, there's a history that led you up to just kind of take action and do these things. So tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, I have type 4C. I'm the first so far in my family to be diagnosed with any form of CMT. We didn't know that I had it as a child. I was a very active child. I was a Ukrainian dancer, like most Ukrainian kids typically are. And one of my first symptoms was I started to trip over my feet as a dancer. And we thought, she had an injury from dancing or whatever. Then as the years went on, things progressed. As I got into my growth spurt, I started to develop scoliosis, which I had to have 2 spinal fusions and then 1 rib resection when I was about 18. Then when I became, it was, I missed a lot of years of school. It kind of forced me to grow up a lot. I had forced to stop dancing because I had scoliosis, and I was in back braces for at least a year off and on over a 2-year period.
So were your parents really support? They're from the Ukraine, right? And they live in Canada?
Yeah. Even I have 3 older sisters. They all were born there. So I'm the first one here. So it was a learning experience, I think, for my entire family. But we knew that we had to push through it no matter what. We had no choice. So, I mean, it was scary for my mom, even still talking to her about it. She's like, we didn't know what we were doing, but we just knew we had to do it.
But the national system in Canada is great for healthcare, so you probably easily maneuvered through that system.
Well, yes and no, because when I first was told that my spine was starting to curve, I was around the age of like 10 when we first started to see it. And we saw an orthopedic surgeon at the time, and there was intentions to keep an eye on it and potentially have surgery. But somehow, I can't remember what happened. 2 or 3 years lapsed and nothing, we never heard from everybody. Nothing was done. And that growth spurt hit, and it rapidly curved to the point where it kind of went a bit out of control. So then we lost those few years.
Wow.
Unfortunately. So then when I became an adult and I was working a desk job, my hands started to get sore working on a computer for long periods of time. So they started to explore whether I had carpal tunnel. That didn't come up. They said, you kind of are showing symptoms of something else. It took a while to look into things. Unfortunately, at the time, there was only genetic testing available in Canada for type 1 and type 2. So they tested me.
When was that?
1.
Just 1 and 2 only, huh?
What year are we talking about?
We're talking prior to 2009-ish.
Okay.
At least that's what I was being told.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they tested for type 1 and 2. That came back negative. So then they did some more research and they said, well, you're kind of falling within the lines of type 4C because I developed early onset scoliosis, later onset neuropathy. At the time, they were like, there is genetic testing for type 4, but it's not available in Canada. It's only available in the States and in Europe. So we would have to put some sort of case together to request that funding, or you could pay $10,000 out of pocket for it. And I was like, well, who can afford that at the time? So the genetic counselor talked to me, and she was like, and I was married at the time and thinking about maybe having a child somewhere down the road, how that would come into effect with it, right? I needed that concrete diagnosis. So the counselor at the time had said the only way that she would see the board requesting and approving funding to cover my test is because there would be no direct benefit for me, because there's no cure. It would be to know if it would affect an offspring. So if that would be the case, I would have to agree to go through IVF treatment, go all the way to the 3rd trimester, go through amniocentesis, and if the baby ended up testing positive for CMT, I would have to agree to board for science.
What that just blows.
It still blows
my
same.
Like how
that was
how can
in
they
order
do
for
that?
them to cover the funding. I know. I even still have the letter that says it because
I
that was
believe you.
huge to me, and people don't believe me, but I'm like, I have the actual formal letter. And I said no. I said I was like in my mid-20s at the time. I was like, okay, so what if a baby is affected? I'm in my mid-20s and still living.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
What does that say to you in your existence?
Exactly, that it means nothing, that you care not about giving me a concrete diagnosis. You care about advancing your research and your science, which I understand is needed to help the disease in all of that way. But it seems so inhumane to me. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, it's
Well,
hard.
not only
That's really hard to get your head wrapped around. I can't imagine being in the situation when you were told that news.
also, it's an ethical consideration, a medical
what I would
ethical situation. I just don't get it. But anyway, so you said no, that's outrageous.
Yeah. So then few years later, it was about maybe 4 or 5 years later after that point, our provincial government had changed hands. And when that happened, all of a sudden, funding for my test was available, which I thought was kind of odd. But you see the political basis in all of it. So I was like, it's available. Let's do it. So then I did the test, and then it took a year for me to get my genetic results back because the blood test was done here. The actual DNA.
A year? Did you say a year to get your test back?
Oh, yeah.
I'm just curious, why? That's just a long, long time.
That's still the basis here.
Wow.
It is still a year for anybody to get anything back. So I got tested. My DNA was all taken care of in a lab in Madrid, Spain. And then when that came back, then they wanted to test my parents. My mother's ended up going to a lab in Madrid as well. My father's went somewhere in the States, I believe Boston somewhere. And it took a year for them to get their results back too. And then it came back that they both were carriers, which none of us had any inkling of at all.
So carriers mean they each have one gene, but not two genes that would make 4C, right?
That's right. It just happened to do its magic for me. So
tell me, when you were growing up, did you feel different than other kids?
Not necessarily. I can tell you, I was very fortunate. I was never teased all throughout my years growing up, even as my scoliosis rapidly started to develop, because it's left me with a deformity, on my back. So when I signed up with the modeling agency, I said, you will never find a good-looking hunchback like me. But I mean, whatever it is, is what it is. So as I had that, I never, if anything, it made me maybe a little bit self-conscious in some of the clothing that I was wearing as I was growing up as a teenager in a bathing suit, because I used to love to swim. But as the years went on, I really didn't care, and I started to outgrow that.
Yeah, you seem very comfortable in your skin. You had mentioned that. You're just kind of like, this is it. This is me. I'll go on vacation, be in a bikini. If people want to ask me what's going on, they can. You're very open. And I think that's great. And so I'm just thinking, was that just maturity in terms of where you transitioned to that type of attitude?
I think so. And my family never treated me differently. They were like, you belong just like everybody else does. Not once did they ever shelter me in that way at all.
It's interesting, though, because I've spoken to very few people like you who just kind of go, well, this is what I have. Where do you think that attitude of not really caring what people think? So many people care what other people think about being judged and not being respected inside, being different. How did you break through that without 30 years of therapy?
Well, I did do therapy over the years for other reasons, but I think what really propelled me to get through that, I grew up as quite a shy child. And then once I became a teenager and I had my first job, I was a hostess. And I was working with a company or a restaurant where one of the owners also had scoliosis, but not as bad as mine. And I didn't know that. She could see how shy I was at first, just interacting with people. And she had indicated, she was like, don't worry, doing this kind of job really forces you out of that shyness because you have to. And I did that all through my school years. And it just then I got comfortable interacting with people. Then once I got my job within the construction agency as a recruiter, I constantly had to deal with people. I would travel doing things. So I had no time to be sitting in that space because I had to interact with the public.
Yeah.
Victoria, are you still working today, or did you stop work? Or
hold on a second, Lizzo. Victoria, are you still working today?
No, I stopped working, I think just about over 8-9 years ago now. So
It's so funny because that was the question I was going to ask, and Lizzo jumped in,
Seriously?
so I had to call.
I got ahead of you, I know.
It needs to come from me. So,
Yeah.
anyways, you are not currently working.
No, well,
Right.
not in the sense
Yes.
that I was before. So
Yeah.
Is that where you met Brian?
actually, Brian and I met volunteering at a wheelchair wash, kind of
Yeah.
like car wash, but wheelchair wash for our mutual friend who is on as a cast member as well. So I was the greeter, bringing everybody in, and he was repairing wheelchairs at the time because he's handy. Everybody calls him for that. And that's kind of where we connected, and it went from there. So
that is great. So I'm going back to, I think maybe 15, 20 minutes ago, I asked the question that led us through all of this discussion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which was, what motivated you to get engaged with Push and motivated you to start a branch? And did that come from some of the frustrations and lack of support or knowledge in Canada with regards to CMT? And are you trying to make a difference there?
Oh, if I could spearhead.
You're supposed to say A.
A. Or I could do it the Ukrainian way.
Go ahead, do it in Ukrainian way.
No, yuck.
Okay.
Anyway, but going through that diagnosis, and I'll be honest with you, up until I started being involved with the Push series and filming a very particular episode that was filmed in Vegas, I had not until last year. So, and I'm going to be 40 this year. So for 39 years, I had never met anybody with CMT.
Oh my
because
gosh.
there is nothing to connect us here. And that is something I was craving very deeply in my soul. And I was like, it's wrong. I know there's others like this out here. So I felt very alone going through my stuff because there was nobody to share or guide me or understand what I was going through. I connected with the wheelie peeps in that way because we all have some level of something we're going through, pain management, medication, all of that kind of thing. So in that sense, but it still was not the same. I wanted my CMT peeps, is what I call it.
Yeah.
So the lack of knowledge on our medical staff here on how to take care of you. I can't tell you how many physiotherapists I went through over the years because they didn't quite understand how to help me. So I was like, there's got to be better basic care for us here. It was very unacceptable for me.
Victoria, tell us about when you did meet somebody. How did you arrange that meeting in Vegas? And tell us how that felt. And, just tell us a little bit about that meeting of somebody else with CMT.
My intention for doing this series and being a part of it is I really wanted to give CMT the awareness that it needed across Canada. And I was like, I know there's others like this here. It's got to be better. So I had spoken to production and I was like, I want to touch base with the CMTA. This is something I've really wanted for a very long time, to have a branch here, because there's no excuse why there isn't. Just the timing was never right for me throughout my life. And I was like, this gives me, it's the time for it right now. So they were like, do you know if there's maybe a branch in Vegas? Because one of the other cast members was going back to reconnect on her journey. And I said, yeah, I think there is a branch down there. So I had gave them the information. And before I knew it, they were like, we would like you to come to Vegas. And by the way, we've arranged for you to meet with 3 women down there that have CMT. And I think I literally actually probably fell to the ground in tears because it literally changed my life.
Tell us more about the meeting.
Yeah, tell us. Yeah, I'm curious. This introduction and meeting.
The juicy details, yeah.
Right.
Well, we had a
Did you start crying? Did you hug each other? Was it an emotional moment?
It was interesting because I met 2 former branch leaders. One of the branch leaders also brought her daughter who was affected by CMT. So I was able to meet with 3 different generations
Ah,
of CMT. So it was so interesting for me to learn how they've dealt with it through the years, and as someone who is a senior, how they're living with it, so that I could learn for myself as well. But we had a lovely picnic, private picnic in a nice backyard of the property that we were staying at. They had the women come in and wait at the picnic table for me. And then leading to that day, I was shaking, I was crying, I had a headache. I was dealing with a lot because I was like, my life is going to change. I'm going to go from literally not having anybody to meeting somebody. My life will never be the same. And so when I came outside, I could barely, I think I cried pretty much, I think, through that entire episode. And at the end of the day, they were like, you have a family here with us anytime you want. You are welcome back with us anytime. And I still keep in touch with them, even with the young lady as well. The young lady looked at me and she was like, I'm so grateful to have met you. At some point, she looked at me and she said, I have a role model in you. And I broke down.
yeah, that makes everything worth it, right?
It even makes me cry just talking about it, because, if I can't do anything for myself, it's an incurable disease that will progress. Who knows where I'll be 5 to 10 years from now? If I can represent that for children or the young adults that are going through it, and they can see that you can still have a good life, that makes the world for me.
Well, as Lizzo knows, I'm extremely emotional, and to our listeners, I have tears in my eyes, like happiness for you, and I'm
feeling it.
Yeah, I can sense, how you felt at that time. And it makes me really proud also in terms of the CMTA, which part of the mission has been to spread awareness within the community and connect people. And it gets back to, it's great that there's that network, because I can't imagine just being alone kind of on an island. And now you have people you can interact with, which is awesome. To hear you say it's changed your life means a lot. I mean, that's great.
And then you'll be meeting even more people, right, in Canada when you start your branch. Have you started it? Have you had a first meeting yet or not?
I haven't had my first meeting yet. I'm still kind of in the first few stages of getting it all together. But the women, God bless their heart, they've been wonderful guiding me through it. I did attend my first branch leaders meeting, and that for me alone was overwhelming, because I also was asked to introduce who I was and what I was a part of. And as soon as I said what I was a part of, I said, almost like everybody was like clapping on screen. And to see all these little screens, again, I got overwhelmed and crying. And just looking at my screen, I was like, oh my God, everybody here somehow has a connection to CMT.
You are not alone.
No. And if you need a location for that branch meeting, I have strong connections with Amarjit Sohi.
Who?
He's the mayor of he's the mayor of Edmonton. Good buddy of mine.
Are you kidding?
No, that is who he is, but I don't know him. But that is who the mayor. Listen, you don't know the mayor. Research. No, I just know Amar. I know Mr. Sohi.
But this is what I was thinking when Victoria was speaking. I was thinking that the directors of Push should really set up something with me and you and her so that she can meet us. And that would be such an emotional thing. And meet Johan.
Yeah.
Just throwing it out there.
If I could go do a tour through every branch,
No, we're not talking about the branches. We just want you to meet us.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Maybe in September when we go around and do our podcast, we can all meet.
Sure. Cool. Also, with regards to Push, if you get the opportunity, you do have your first branch meeting. That'd be cool for them to have to
absolutely.
Well.
It's very exciting. It's getting good responses. We're hopeful that there's going to be a second season, and if there is, there's sure going to be a lot of CMT content that could be done, because I'm really wanting a different environment and community here, because the way it is just not acceptable for me at all.
Now, one other thing I was just thinking about in terms of put fire in your belly to move forward is, which I thought was pretty funny when we interviewed you, is you listened to the CMT for Me podcast and you said you got really angry.
I did.
I know.
I'm like, oh no.
And
And
I'm like, wow, our
honest,
first listener that I guess the podcast stimulates action. I guess we're doing our job, right?
it is, because I was like, Brian was there listening to them with me, and I was like, dude, why haven't I heard the CMT for Me podcast exist ever before? And why has there ever been anything like that here? Like, I was like, it seemed like to me like there was more support all throughout the United States than there was here in Canada. And I was like, that's just not right. Like, we're so close. We're neighbors.
She's so awesome. She's so passionate. She goes, dude, like, why didn't I hear about this? Why haven't I been on this?
Yeah, it's like an angry mother, like, lecturing.
Yeah.
Can we meet Brian? Can you bring him on?
Yeah, let's bring. I mean, and I want to talk a little bit about that relationship as well. I mean, you guys really, you can both fill us in terms of your relationship and the support you give each other, and it just sounds like you guys do a lot of great things. So Brian, welcome.
Hi, Brian.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. And Brian, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'll try to condense it. It's kind of a long story. I got paralyzed when I was 17 years old on a 3-wheel ATV accident. Spent 2 years as a raging alcoholic. Ended up on the streets, rebuilt my life, became a Alberta Hall of Fame wheelchair basketball player, played sledge hockey for Canada's development team for 3 years, and became Canada's first ever disabled bobsled pilot. Hold a few World Cup Canadian, last ranked third in the world. Never have I, in 28 years, 3 of those years I've been paralyzed. 25 of them, I was just a dude doing what he wanted to do with a wheelchair strapped to his butt. I water ski, downhill ski, rock climb, quadded on a daily basis. I did auto body for quite a few years, but my passion was running heavy equipment. Last 13 years, I've been running heavy equipment. Started my career in residential grading and ended it with the oil field company. Retired last year due to health, and now my focus is on a future, hopefully with Victoria and myself, and also a new sport that's just come across my plate. So now I'm trying to develop another sport.
What is that sport? Yeah. You're leaving us in suspense.
Sorry. The sport is called... Yeah, the sport is called Volt Hockey, VOLT hockey. It's only been in Canada for 2 years. It's been in Europe for 40. Basically, it's a powered chair low to the ground, and with a waffle ball, you play hockey with it. It's pretty incredible. I met the kids. The kids grabbed my heart. That's where that went. And that's basically the gist of my life.
Oh, God. And I can tell, I'm looking at Victoria's face when you're speaking, and I can tell the relationship. She's just smiling the whole time.
Yeah, we've had challenges as any relationship does. Sometimes I think our relationship's a little bit more delicate due to the disabilities. There's things that we're learning along this journey together, but at the end of the day, I couldn't be more proud of Victoria and everything she's doing right now with the CMT, and I support her 100% in everything we do. So yeah.
This is just reminding me, I looked at a little YouTube video. I was like, before bed, I'm going through and scrolling. And then I see Victoria in bed. She's like, yeah, I want breakfast. And Brian's in there putting all this stuff together, opening things. And I'm like, what? And he wasn't making it. And like, I don't remember. There was some conflict there about making it right or not doing it right or something. What was that about?
No, it was just Victoria is a chef. This woman, I mean, never mind being Ukrainian and Ukrainians having wonderful dishes to begin with. Victoria spends a lot of it's passion for her. She's very passionate. So I get fed like a king. I should shut my mouth. I'm so grateful for the dinners I get given to myself. So much so that I had to go on a diet a month ago because I was just getting out of hand. Victoria is an amazing cook. So yeah, but during one of the episodes, I was cooking her breakfast for her birthday and trying to do my best not to screw it up. I'm a great barbecuer. I'm definitely not a cook. I would never claim to be one. If you want anything fixed, you come talk to me. You want anybody to pay for disrespecting you, I'm the first guy that'll do it. Give 'em a rock in the jaw. But outside of that, yeah, Vic's the cook.
That's funny. And it sounds like you guys have tremendous support for one another. And that must be a motivating factor in terms of your energy levels and what you are trying to accomplish every day. Brian, what you're doing, and Victoria, what you're doing. And, I think it's great, right? That commonality, you feed off of each other in terms of both of you are giving back, right? You're both finding ways to give back, whether it's the young kids in this new sport and Victoria and CMT and spreading awareness. And it's really amazing what you two are accomplishing. So, I give you kudos and keep it up. Folks like yourself are hard to find from my perspective. They're out there, but they're hard to find. You don't run into them every day.
Is there anything in your relationship? I'm sorry, Brian, I'm just kind of like throwing this in, but is there anything in your relationship that's really tough, like being in chairs or scooters, that it's just like you still haven't figured out how to do or how to accomplish?
Right now, the biggest challenge I see at this moment is just we have a combined total of 3 scooters and a wheelchair in a 900 square foot condo.
Okay.
Parking spaces are starting to become a little bit less and less in here. When it comes to that aspect, yeah, there's definitely challenges. And as I'm learning about CMT and more importantly, learning Victoria with CMT, there's definitely some challenges coming our way and some things that I'm not sure of. That being said, since the moment I laid eyes on Victoria, anything that we've wanted to do or she's wanted to do, I've made it happen. I don't care what it is, we'll figure it out. I'm not that guy. Her biggest bucket list from the day I met her was she wanted to go whitewater rafting. It happened within, I think, 3 months of the relationship.
That's great.
No ifs, ands, or buts that I was going to get her to do it, and even with traveling, we've learned some things recently about our health, both of us, not just singling out Victoria, but both of us. And I'm not done traveling. We're not done traveling. Whatever I need to do to figure that situation out, maybe it's not plane rides for 12 hours, but there's vehicles, there's camping, there's a billion other ways to experience life together. So my instant answer is no, because I won't allow it to happen. I try my hardest to give Victoria the best life I can. Maybe it's not always the best every day, but to at least work forward.
It's beautiful. It's
Victoria,
awesome.
do you have anything to add to that?
No, I agree with them. I mean, I have a progressive condition. So that is, I mean, I can tell you, like, we've been together for almost 2 years. 2 years ago, I was in a very different state than I am right now. That alone can be challenging on anybody. So it's trying to navigate through that. But at the same time, I've learned a lot of things from not just Brian, but from the wheelie peeps too, because and I've said that in one of the episodes, they've taught me more than they will ever know, because it's like preparing me for what's to come in my life and adjusting to it and getting ready for it now versus not being ready for it at the time and then having all the emotional stuff that comes with that.
And even though you have CMT, you made a reference to it's made you the person that you are today, and you would not have had all of these experiences. And like, you wouldn't really change. You felt very fortunate. So tell us a little bit about that. One thing you said, I wouldn't have met my partner if this didn't happen, or I wouldn't have. You had a really good reflection there in terms of you wouldn't be like trying to start a branch. So you reflected on that in terms of having CMT. That's really triggered action.
I've thought of it now as my life's purpose. Like maybe I was given this in my life because somebody needed to spearhead change here. If I wouldn't have gone through all the ups and downs that I've had up in my life up until now, stopped working, this and that, met these people, that were involved in the show, our mutual friend. I would have never met Brian. I would have never been a part of the show Push if my CMT wasn't in the state that it is in right now. That wouldn't maybe never have opened the opportunity for me to even open a branch and really give CMT and the CMTA the platform it deserves across Canada. And I'm hoping that others, I really hope that there are others with CMT that are going to watch it and hear the podcast and connect with me that way. And also rally up the peeps to really spearhead change, because we all deserve better healthcare. We all deserve this to support each other.
Yes. Yeah. I can't agree with you more. I mean, that's very well said.
Watch Victoria and Brian together. And Brian has some very interesting clothing, and I'm not going to give it away here, but his
Awesome.
t-shirt is just amazing. So you've got to watch the episode. So
Right.
I know. Yep. That's all I'm going to say.
So
you
Victoria,
have to see when we travel through the airport. And
oh yeah, I'm going to watch
awesome.
that one.
I'm like, go, Victoria, go, Brian, go get it.
So Victoria, is kind of the closing. What would you like to say to the CMTA community, or what is your message?
My message for really anyone in the CMT community, whether you are directly affected by it or you are a loved one of somebody that has it, is don't settle for less than what you deserve and keep going. If you aren't okay with something, if something doesn't sit right with you, you don't have to accept it. You can keep pushing through it and get what you deserve. Like, don't ever give up.
Don't
Awesome.
settle for less. I
Awesome.
love that about you.
Yep. I think it's great. Now we get to our really incredible part of the podcast. Lizzo came up with the fun questions. Lizzo, do you want to?
No, go ahead. That first one's yours.
Okay. So crazy questions. Here we go. If you were a bicycle, what part would you be, Victoria?
Ooh. I would say the bicycle or trike.
Either one.
I would say maybe trike, and I would say probably the back two wheels, because I like to be kind of steady and stable.
I like that. That's
and moving
awesome.
forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, love it.
Lizzo, so, go for the next one.
Okay, tell me about your most unusual talent or party trick.
My most unusual talent
or party trick. Something you pull out at parties.
I don't know.
Maybe Brian has an answer for that
Brian?
one.
Yes.
What is my most unusual
talent or party trick?
Or party trick?
Oh, you're not that kind of girl, but
I don't know.
Well, it would literally, the quickest answer would have to say cooking, something in cooking. There's not, Victoria's literally cooking? Not that.
Yeah.
That kind
okay.
Of
I like that. You're not that kind of girl.
Without a recipe.
Right.
Yeah.
I like it.
Cook it. She could make a 4 or 5 course meal out of a freaking peanut. So
it is true.
Oh, there you go. So now I'm curious, Lizzo, what is yours?
My party trick?
Yeah.
You need to come see me to see that.
Okay.
How about you?
No. So let's close this out now, folks. All right. So, hey, Lizzo, if someone wants to follow us on social media, where do they go?
Well, we have a Facebook page, CMT
cool.
number 4 Me podcast. So follow us and get all our updates. And we give tips for living with CMT, celebrate Counter Day with us, meet members of the community, and you'll be seeing Victoria there soon with her picture and clips from her podcast that we just did. It's lots of fun. Also, we have an Instagram page. It's CMT 4 Me podcast.
Nice. And folks, don't forget to leave us a stellar review so we can reach more folks. And one way to leave a review is to go to Apple Podcasts or go to Pause Page. Push I can never say that. Pod Page. Pod Page. Leave a review there.
Page. So to our listeners, I don't want to forget, if you have a good story, contact us. We'd love to hear your story. We'd like to get you on our CMT for Me podcast, so you too can spread awareness of this disease. And we want to know what you're doing, what's up, and what amazing things you are doing for this world, like Victoria. So it's such an inspirational story. I know that's a word that a lot of people don't use, inspirational, but I think you are amazing.
It's applicable.
It's applicable. That was good, Chris.
That's formal. Thank you.
Time to scoot, little newts.
Oh my goodness, scoot little newt. All right, folks, later. And Victoria, if you need me to give a call to Amajit Sohid, let me know.
Oh, lovely.
Bonjour.
You guys are great.
Au revoir.
Thank you, Brian.